Hey Reddit. Recently, my life has turned upside down and I have so much on my mind. Something that was supposed to be a happy event turned out into my biggest nightmare. And now my life is moving in a completely different direction. All of this happened on the day of my wedding. It started with my ex best friend showing up to create a scene and ended with me reviewing my life choices. Before I go into details regarding what happened at my wedding, it is important to understand why my ex best friend and I are no longer together. And it all goes back to 5 years ago. The event was another wedding, my best friend's wedding. I have started to think that I have some sort of weird relationship with getting my life turned upside down at every wedding. Anyway, as the situation goes, 5 years back, there was a lot of drama at my best friend's wedding. Even after being friends for 6 years, I never knew that one day everything would end between us. So, my best friend, Leah, 28, female, and not real name, and I have been friends since college. From being roommates to her maid of honor, it's been a trip. When she asked me to become her maid of honor, I was overjoyed. I had no idea about the stress that would come with it, but I was okay with that as well. She was being kind of a bridezilla at her wedding, and it was something everybody could feel. But all of us, including her parents and friends, decided to bear with it. There had been plenty of times when she was harsh. She never liked a single choice that was presented to her, but brushed off anything that I suggested, only for her to choose exactly that later on. She would get mad at me for tiny reasons, and it was a mess. If I didn't say anything, I was being inattentive. But if I said anything, that would be stupid to her. At that point, I was just laying low. Her fiance was no exception. He had to go through this as well, and it was stressful for him. There had been plenty of times when he got really mad at her, but it was me coming in between to fix the situation every single time. This developed a healthy friendship between me and her fiance, and that's what it was, friendship. Now, Leah was a very suspicious woman, and she was a possessive girlfriend, sometimes being a little too much. So on her dress fitting day, a few additional guests were to be added to the list, among which there was her fiance's close friend, a woman. And Leah didn't like that. So instead of even thinking for once, she video called her fiance in her wedding dress to yell at him for prioritizing other women on their wedding. This was one matter, but her wearing a wedding dress and calling her fiance was frowned upon by a lot of people. Her family, as well as her fiance's family, were a little conservative, but I made sure to talk to everybody and calm them all down. Fast forward to the wedding day. I have no idea who said what, but somehow Leah had doubts regarding me and her fiance. I was shocked to hear that my best friend could even doubt me over something like this. While my reaction was like that, her fiance was mad at her. Their voices were rising over the ceiling as nobody backed down to the point where talks about calling off the wedding were also heard. I had already been taking a lot of attitude from Leah over the past few days, but this was too much for me to handle. From screaming about the wrong color of curtains to not liking the same flavor of cake that she had chosen, she was being really rude and not even apologizing for it, not acknowledging a single effort made by me or anyone else, and so on. I clarified once and for all in front of everybody that her fiance and I were really good friends. And that developed only because we both felt like we were victims of Leah's unnecessary mean behavior. I knew that she would not understand, so I spoke to her fiance and tried to calm him down, which angered her even more. I was so done with that, and I decided to leave. I told her off in front of everybody and said that I was done with them and their wedding. I did not care about their choices anymore, and I was not going to stand there and get accused of things I had not done. And saying so, I left her. Her family seemed to agree with me, but nobody wanted to get into an argument with Leah. It was a little difficult, but over the next few years, I got over it. Fast forward to my wedding, which was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. Everything was going smoothly until my ex best friend suddenly decided to show up. I knew that she was bad news, but a part of me wanted to believe that she had changed. But I was wrong, as she was here to take revenge over the incident that had happened 5 years ago. She told me that even though they got married to one another, that incident scarred their relationship. I mean, what would anybody expect? So she and her husband were together for a year after the wedding, but then decided that things did not work out between them and got a divorce. I had no idea about these things. Whatever ounce of sympathy or love that I had left for her vanished the moment her facial expressions changed from upset to cruel. Her sharing this backstory was only a way of setting up a base before giving the real shock. She confessed that she slept with my fiance to take revenge, and I was stunned. I couldn't believe her words and knew for sure that it was some sick joke. So I grabbed her arm and tried to take her inside to confront her as she was making a scene in front of the guests. But she just wouldn't listen to me. She kept on saying that she was glad to see that I was getting what I deserved and that both of our marriages didn't work. She went ahead to laugh about how my marriage ended before even starting properly. When I told her that I didn't believe her at all and that I could see right through her attempt to sabotage my wedding, she just smiled mockingly. She said that no matter what I said, the truth couldn't be changed, and it was that my fiance cheated. She went on and on about her story, saying that it happened at my fiance's bachelor party in Miami. For a moment there, I was taken aback at how she knew about him going to Miami, but quickly figured that she must have stalked him over social media to know his whereabouts. I was so pissed off at that moment, and I called security to get her out. At that, she said that she could prove her story because she had pictures. Then my fiance himself stopped the security and told me that he needed to talk to me. I was not expecting this and assumed that Leah was right all along. I tried hard to control my tears, but my fiance said that nothing happened, but he was drunk and they were all dancing together and he didn't even remember the other random people at the club. And she might be one of them. I thought about it, and Leah trying to intentionally sabotage my wedding wasn't something beyond her. As we were talking, I quickly caught a glimpse of her trying to connect her phone to the laptop, which was connected to the screen and was supposed to play a slideshow of our pre-wedding shoot. I understood what she was aiming for and grabbed her from behind, taking her phone away. She screamed at me and desperately tried to get the phone back as I saw messages coming from someone else asking Leah if the plan was going well and if she needed the Photoshop pictures then or later. That was enough for me to see, and I made security throw her out, after which I married my fiance. Update 1. It's been 2 days since I got married and threw my ex-best friend out of the venue. Yeah, it's a lot to process altogether. Everyone was perplexed at Leah's outbursts and lies, considering how I believed her for a moment. Once we were done with the wedding, I couldn't help but investigate the matter more, and that's how I found out that she went to great lengths, including hiring a professional photographer with photoshopping skills and getting custom-made pictures done, all to sell her fake story. So much planning and plotting for what? To ruin my wedding because hers didn't work? So I informed our class group and everyone who knew the two of us. Call me vindictive, but she had it coming. A wedding is supposed to be one of the happiest days of a person's life, and she didn't even know my husband personally. Yet she tried to ruin both of our lives. It was not fair, and everyone deserves to know what a bitch she really is. Tell me if this was wrong on my part. I'm open to criticism. Update 2. Hello, Reddit. Good and bad news. And Interesting news. The good news is we have a reunion party next week. The bad news is Leah will be there. Interesting news, everyone knows what she did, so it'll be fun. Coming to me, life as a wife is pretty dynamic and interesting. I am so in love. I'm a little upset about the mishaps at the wedding, but it's not like I can change all that anyway. The best thing to do would be to accept what happened and move forward. Also, went through the comments, and I gotta say, some of you seem madder at her than me, and that shows. Thanks. Update 3. All right, first the tea. Everyone, and I mean everyone, ignored Leah at the party. I did not expect this kind of reaction, but all of our ex-classmates supported me and were mad when they heard what had happened. Some of them even called her insane. So she did what she did best and tried to create chaos. My best friend, who was mad at her and was not saying anything because of my insistence, lost all her cool when Leah started bad-mouthing me again and justified all of her actions. So guess what? Someone threw their drink on her dress. Yeah, that happened. I was initially pretty upset about everything, but things have become funny now. If you hurt people unnecessarily, it will come back to you. I don't even need to take revenge. She's already a pathetic, lonely woman. So yeah, thank you for your comments. This will be all from my end. NTA, throwing her out of your wedding was the best thing you could do. Wish you had done that the minute you saw her step in. Such a bitch. NTA, I would call her pretty sadistic. She's miserable herself and wants the same for you. It would be even better if you were the one throwing the drink. But all's well that ends well. Congratulations on your wedding, by the way. Next story. I think the title is self-explanatory. My girlfriend's family is quite upset with me, but let me give you a bit of background information. I, 25, female, am currently a resident. My specialty is a particularly demanding one. I have 24-hour shifts every other day, and I get to go on 72-hour shifts at the hospital with only a few hours of sleep 4 times a month. I've been dating my girlfriend, 23, female, for 2 years. Her parents and brother, 29, live in a different city. They were going to come visit us for a few days. My girlfriend had told me that beforehand. She obviously knows my schedule. I offered to help her before her parents got here. I only managed to get a few items, gifts, etc. Later, she told me to carry on with my routine and said she'd handle the hosting duties. I had one of those 72-hour nightmare shifts. We had countless admissions and only got to sleep very occasionally. It is safe to say I was almost a zombie by the time I got home. After I got home, took a shower and told my girlfriend I was going to sleep a little bit. I set an alarm to get up and help my girlfriend in the kitchen and watch a movie or something. I slept through the whole day and got up around 10 p.m. When I went downstairs, I saw my girlfriend's parents and her brother. I had completely forgotten about my girlfriend's family coming over later that day. They had a very unimpressed look. My girlfriend's mother told me it was extremely disrespectful of me to not be there to welcome them the first time they were coming over to visit. I got similar comments from all of them. My girlfriend said she purposefully didn't wake me up because I was going to go back to the hospital in a few hours and I needed my sleep. Her family didn't change their minds. Her brother later told me, privately, that I was neglecting my girlfriend and being selfish in this relationship. He said his sister deserved much better than someone who wouldn't even acknowledge her family. I feel horrible about all this. I asked a few friends, but they're all terrible when it comes to these kinds of advice. I honestly don't know. AITA? Edit. I was allowed to leave the hospital around 2 p.m., got home around 3 p.m., took a shower, went to sleep at 3:30. I set an alarm for 6 p.m., but slept through it. They arrived at around 5. NTA. I can't believe the family doesn't understand your schedule. If you don't get enough sleep, Your patients could suffer from bad health care. The only opinion that counts is your girlfriend's. If she's cool with you, don't worry about her family. NTA. Almost went with NAH. I mean, it is kind of expected to be present when your partner's family is visiting, so I get that they were confused and a little upset. But it was an honest mistake on your side, and your girlfriend chose not to wake you, and also told her family why you were absent. They should have let this go after your girlfriend explained the situation. Edit. Her brother seems to have some issues, though. Who says stuff like that oversleeping through an alarm? He is the AH. NTA. If they are so concerned about you welcoming them, they can come when you're not scheduled to work so much. You'd think they would have some understanding of the need for sleep. Your health is more important, as once you lose it, it's gone. They can visit any time. Please don't feel bad. Next story. Backstory. When my daughter, Georgia, was 13, her mother and I divorced. I didn't want to uproot Georgia, therefore, they kept the house and I moved into a nearby apartment. My ex was a stay at home mom. I continued paying all the bills for 2 years. Currently, I'm still paying only the mortgage. Georgia is now 17 and resides with her mother. 16 months ago, I met my now girlfriend. During that time, I purchased a house to get out of my apartment. My girlfriend moved in a few months back. Prior to that, I introduced her to Georgia. As I expected, she had a very whatever attitude. I understand changes such as these are hard for kids to cope with. Since the divorce, Georgia could come and go as she pleased. Since my girlfriend moved in, though, Georgia became obnoxious with constantly trying to run her off and humiliate her. The first incident, Georgia came over one afternoon while I was at work to say when she got home from school the previous day. I was coming out of her mother's bedroom. She knew this was not true, as I had been with her that entire day. I sat Georgia down for a serious reality check. Georgia was apparently snooping through our mail. She saw my girlfriend's date of birth. For the record, we're 13 years apart, both divorced with kids. Georgia asked my girlfriend, "So, what do you see in my dad, a caregiver?" One early Saturday morning, she came over while we were still sleeping. She had brought empty Depends underwear boxes and stacked them in the living room. When we woke up, Georgia said, "Wow, so you wear Depends just like my grandpa does, huh?" Therefore, Georgia would refer to her only as Grams or the old hag. The next incident, she used our bathroom, said she stunk it up, and used some old lady smelling cologne to mask the odor. It was actually a very expensive perfume. Georgia sprayed about 70% of the bottle around the house. The final straw happened last weekend. Georgia came over for breakfast. At some point, she took my phone and sent her mother a message that read, "I can't stop thinking about you. I want to work things out and get back together." She deleted the text from my phone. Unbeknownst to me, she had her mother's phone on her, took a screenshot, and then deleted the text on her mother's phone. Tuesday, she sent the screenshot to my girlfriend on her mother's phone and said, "I'm sorry, I think you need to know." She then deleted that text as well. This nearly caused her to leave, exactly what Georgia wanted. I immediately changed the locks. Before I could speak with Georgia, she showed up and couldn't get in. She called. We both were pissed off for different reasons. I told her she was not welcome at our house until she had a serious attitude change. Her mother called, said I traumatized Georgia, and claimed the text incident was a load of shit that never happened. Georgia admitted it. My ex said to be prepared to pay for her therapy because she'll need it after I put some tramp over my own child. NTA sounds like she does need therapy. It's unfortunate that her mother can't bring herself around to co-parent. What this little girl needs is a united front to stand up to her invasiveness and hostility. She clearly has a cup that needs filling up somewhere, but her aggression isn't going to do anything but push someone who cares away. How does your new girlfriend feel about all this? Has she tried connecting with DD? NTA, this is messed up, man. I'm sorry you're having to go through this. With the way your ex is talking to you, I wouldn't be surprised if she's encouraging Georgia to hurt you on purpose. Therapy might not be bad for her, though. Just make sure you're the one that sets it up and explain the situation to the therapist. Normal people don't act how she's acting, and it's clear the divorce took a toll on her. Next story. My son, Adam, 30, male, had his birthday 2 weeks ago and was on vacation with his girlfriend Clara to celebrate. He doesn't live in the same state as us, so each year my wife and I call him and mail a box with a few presents and a card inside. Last year, he was also on vacation for his birthday, and when we called, he didn't have much time to talk. He appreciated our calling, but said he wished we would have called in the morning so that we weren't interrupting his vacation to chat. My wife especially was hurt by that, but never brought it up again. And I figured if we were an inconvenience for him, we just wouldn't call. This year, since we knew he would be on vacation again, my wife and I decided we wouldn't bother him and he could call us when he had time. We all sent him happy birthday texts in the family group chat, and that was it. However, we hadn't heard from him since his birthday, so I talked to his sisters, 26 female, 26 female, and 28 female, to see if they had heard from him. Apparently, they all called on his birthday on top of sending texts, so he's really hurt that his mom and I didn't call. He's also mad because apparently a text isn't good enough. I tried calling him to talk about it, but he's been declining them and ignoring my texts. I didn't think it was that big of a deal, so AITA? Or is he overreacting? Edit 1. To those wondering, his time zone is 7 hours ahead of mine. A big factor in the lack of calls was the time difference. I also, incorrectly, assumed, 1, that since he didn't tell us a good time to call this year, maybe it wasn't a good idea to call. And 2, since he had a preference last year and didn't communicate it until we called, this year he would have talked to us about when to call so we didn't accidentally make that same mistake again. Edit 2. Stop messaging me about how terrible my son is. If you want to say something gross and disgusting, say it on the post, you cowards. ESH. He's got to receive calls on his birthday or he throws a fit at 30 goddamn years of age. But they have to be at just the right time of day or he doesn't have enough time to chat. One time, he didn't have enough time to chat, so your wife threw a fit at how many years of age? And decided no more calling him on his birthday? The whole thing is ridiculous. You're all grown adults. NTA, you did call him last year, and he grumbled about the timing because he was on vacation. He could have just been happy to hear from you, but instead he whined about it. This time around, you made a decision not to call because he was on vacation and didn't want to interrupt again. You still wished him a happy birthday anyway via text. Admittedly, you could have asked in the text when he'd be free for a chat, but it's not like you forgot. He's also not 10. He sounds entitled. NTA, he might not have realized, but he made it clear he didn't appreciate you calling, so OFC, why would you keep wasting your time? My husband's mom sends gifts for every holiday, but after a minor one, my hubby didn't tell her thank you for the gift. So she didn't send one next year, as is her right. And now your son is giving you the silent treatment. Well, this is what your parenting has wrought. So I guess you get what you pay for. Stay tuned for more stories from Argo Relationships.